Hello and welcome to my video. My name is Chuck Holmes. I'm the founder of parttimecommander.com. Today we're going to talk about what Army officers do. We're going to cover the top 12 most common things, the most common duties that Army officers are responsible for. I had the honor of being an officer for about 11 years. I really loved it. I worked my way up to the rank of major. Did a lot of things right, did a lot of things wrong, learned along the way. But by the time my career was done, thank goodness I had some good mentors and I figured things out and I became quite effective. So if you're thinking about becoming an Army officer or you're a brand new officer and you're wondering what you should be doing, this is the video for you. You can see on the screen right here, we're going to follow along on my website. You can head on over to parttimecommander.com, or you can also go to the description box below this video to visit this page on my website. So officers are responsible for a lot, especially in the Army. I've whittled it down to what I believe are the 12 things that will take up probably 90% or more of your time. Keep in mind, though, as an officer, you are responsible for everything that happens and everything that doesn't happen in your unit. The first one is mission planning. And the biggest difference between an officer and an NCO is an officer is focused on the future, whereas the NCO is handling the day-to-day. Think of it in the business world. The officer is more like the CEO, and the NCO is more like the vice president of operations. They're running the day-to-day. The CEO is determining where they want the organization to go. That's what officers do. We also plan missions. So we sit back, we come up with op orders, we go through the troop leading procedures or the military decision-making process, and we are focused on missions that are 30, 60, 90 days out. When we get a mission or a tasking from a higher headquarters, what we do is we sit down and we formulate a plan for our unit, whether we are a general or a brand new lieutenant, and we're coming up with a plan for our platoon. We are the mission planning experts in our platoon. We come up with the plan, the NCOs supervise that plan, and the soldiers execute that plan. Next is collective training. Now, in the Army, you have individual training, which is basically shoot, move, and communicate. That's spearheaded by the NCOs. And then you have collective training. Collective training are tasks that we do as groups. So it could be a squad or what a fire team or what a platoon or what a company does as a whole. It's their wartime mission. It is what they do as a complete organization. So Johnny over there is shooting, another guy is moving, but they're all working together. And that thing they're working together on is their collective task. We are responsible to make sure our unit is proficient in our collective tasks that we have. Each organization has their own listing of collective tasks based off their mission, based off what type of unit they are. And we are responsible as an officer to make sure that our unit is trained in those tasks. Number 3, leader development. Not only are we responsible for developing ourselves, but we need to make sure our subordinate officers, our subordinate NCOs are getting their professional development. They're getting the schools that they need. They're getting the mentoring and the counseling that they need. In a lot of cases, we're doing this ourselves. In other cases, we're making sure it gets done. We typically develop leaders up to 2 levels down, mostly though with the people we directly supervise, and then we're making sure they're supervising and mentoring and leading their people and so forth. Number 4, develop policies and procedures. Now, not all officers will develop policies and procedures. This is normally reserved for commanders, but sometimes a staff officer or another officer could end up developing one. These are unit SOPs, tactical SOPs, policy letters, things that an officer would come up with and sign, typically done by a unit commander. Number 5 is to enforce the Army standards. Now, I'll be honest with you, most of the time, the NCOs, they've got this covered. They're working with the privates and the specialists and the private first class, and they're making sure that when they mess up, the standards are being enforced. But we have responsibilities too. We need to make sure that we are following the Army standards as officers. And we also need to make sure that our subordinate officers and NCOs are enforcing the standards and living by the standards. So we set the example. When we see something wrong, we fix it. Now, there's a right way and a wrong way to do this. I've always believed that when something is wrong, you can just pull the person aside in private and knock it out. Regardless of how you handle it, though, it is your job to enforce the standards as an officer. If you let things just slip by, if you see things wrong and you don't correct it, you're really doing a disservice to your unit and to your soldiers. Number 6 is tacticians. I was told a long time ago, the quickest way to find out if you have a good officer is when you go to the field. In most cases, NCOs, they run the show in garrison, but in combat, in the field, in a tactical situation, that's really where officers make their money. If they're in a combat unit, if they're a good officer, you're going to find out real quickly how good or bad your officer is when you go to the field, because that's where they make their money. That's where they shine, or that's where they collapse. Number 7, property accountability. In most cases, as an officer, we're the primary hand receipt holder, especially if we're a commander. But if you're a platoon leader, in most cases, you're going to sign for your platoon's equipment. You're going to then sub-hand receipt that down to the end user. We have the responsibility, though, to make sure that people are safeguarding their equipment, they're maintaining their equipment. This includes excess equipment, replacing damaged equipment, ensuring inventories are done on time and to standard, and more. Number 8 is mission accomplishment. Now, when your unit accomplishes their mission, your boss is going to look at you. When your unit fails to accomplish its mission, your boss is going to look at you. You are responsible to make sure the mission gets done on time, to standard, and ideally with no setbacks or no issues. This includes your personal job as an officer and everyone working under your authority. Everything in the Army is about mission accomplishment. Number 9, as an officer, you're going to be a supervisor. You're going to typically lead an NCO, a staff sergeant or above, maybe even a few, depending on your duty position. You could supervise anywhere from a few to a few thousand people. Most officers, they personally supervise between 2 and 10 people. And in most cases, it's closer to 3 to 5. But you're going to oversee as a senior raider or a 2 levels above raider for people. So you're basically supervising people directly, and you're supervising people, and you're supervising the supervisor. Hopefully that makes sense. Number 10, readiness. The Army, not only is it all about its mission, it's about readiness. You want to make sure your equipment is ready to deploy at moment's notice. You need to make sure that your soldiers are ready to deploy at moment's notice. You need to make sure that your unit is trained in their wartime task. That is what readiness is. It's a lot. Everything affects readiness. Physical fitness. Soldiers, are they getting their physical? Are they MOS qualified? Are they getting the schools they need? Is your equipment PMCS? If it's deadline, is it getting fixed? All of those things affect unit readiness. You're going to spend a lot of time on this one, especially when you're at the small unit level, at the company level and below. Number 11 is leadership and management. As officers, regardless of our position, we are in a leadership role. The buck stops with us. We are responsible for setting the example. We are responsible for managing tasks and leading people. We command units, we lead staffs, we lead sections. We set the tone for our organization. We supervise, we delegate, and we empower others. When you think about a leader that you work with in any capacity, that's probably what you're going to be doing as a leader in the Army. You're inspiring people, you're making tough decisions, you're accepting responsibility when things go wrong, you're giving credit when things go right, you're making sure things go right, you're making sure that plan is done, you're handling issues, you're putting out fires, you're dealing with people issues. All of those things fall under leadership and management. Number 12 is soldier morale. This is the last one we're going to cover in this training. But ultimately, you are responsible for soldier morale. Your NCOs are going to have a huge impact on the morale of your unit. But you as an officer, it's your job to spot check that. If there's an issue, it's your job to identify and fix it. You're going to work closely with your NCOs. Some people call this esprit de corps. Some people call this morale. But it's important that you get to know people that you lead as people. You don't want to be buddy-buddy, but you want to make sure if there's a problem that it's getting fixed, that it's getting addressed. You want to make sure your soldiers have the skill and the will to do their job, and more importantly, the resources to do their job, that they're satisfied, that they're content. You should be monitoring retention in your unit. If everybody is ETSing or getting out, there's probably a morale problem. If the performance is low, there's probably a morale problem, and morale always starts at the top and it works its way down. So if there's a morale problem, it's probably your fault directly or indirectly, and you need to make sure that gets fixed. So you can see these are just 12 things, basically the 12 biggest things you're going to do as an Army officer. It's fun, it's challenging, it's exciting. I'll be the first to admit sometimes you scratch your head, especially when you're brand new and you're like, what did I get myself into? but you're going to figure it out as you mature, as you get experience, as you learn from your NCOs. You're going to learn, you're going to figure things out, and you're going to be very good at what you do, even if you don't start out that way. Being an Army officer is an honor. It's a privilege. It's a tough job. It prepares you for just about anything in life. If you can succeed in this type of job, you can succeed easily in the civilian sector and the private sector. If you are thinking about becoming an Army officer, I highly encourage it. It's a great career. It's a great stepping stone to other things that you can do in your life. And if you have been an officer before, I would love if you commented, if you liked, if you shared this video, if you talked about some of the things that you did, some of your most common duties. Maybe I missed something that you think I should have added to this video. So thank you for your service. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to check out the description box below this video so you can visit my website and get some additional resources. Also, don't forget to like, comment, and share on this video and to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for your service. Have a great day.